Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, good, thank you. Thank you so much for making the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
No problem, of course. Hopefully you can't hear my background. I might have to close my window, but you look
Good.
so pretty.
Oh, thank you too. No, I was just I've never had a African American woman or anyone from America on my podcast before, so it was a courageous step for me to even DM you and ask. And when you replied, I was like, oh, thank God! Like this is such a cool. Thank you so much for making the time. How was your day?
Oh, my day was chill. It was pretty chill. Did some social media stuff.
Yeah, I saw
I saw
your, yeah, I saw your pics and I was like, oh, gorgeous, gorgeous. Apologies in advance if I talk too fast, because I get told because of my accent I talk too fast. So if I talk too fast, let me know and then I'll just stop talking too fast.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Yeah, should we just start and we'll ease our way into it?
Yeah, I'm just making sure the lights. Okay. So how do you do your podcast? Is it like all like on like iPod podcasts, or is it like a video podcast?
All of it. Yeah, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Facebook, everything.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, we'll begin. All right, so Talofa everyone. Thank you for those of you who are about to tune in. I am here with Jazmine, who is joining us all the way from New York City, which is exciting. Like for me, coming from little Auckland in New Zealand, to have someone from New York City on my podcast is a huge deal for me. So I want to thank you so much for giving me the time. We are on totally different sides of the world, but we've been able to connect today. So I'm really humbled that you've made time for this, Jazmine. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you for reaching out to me. I love to connect with everyone and anyone, and even seeing that, you might be able to reach to New Zealand and Auckland. That sounds awesome to me. What time is it there?
It is 11:21 a.m.
Oh, okay. Okay.
What
so
time is it?
Not bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
So it's 7:21 right now here. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also a Friday here as well. So I'm assuming it's a Thursday.
Oh yeah, it's Thursday here. Yeah. So you guys are way ahead.
Yeah. I had to Google world clock and I had to count back the hours. So I'm like, if it's this time in New York City, then it's going to be this time in Auckland. And then we're like, it took a lot of maths to get this happening. So I really appreciate you making the time. But before we begin, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
I live in New York, but I'm from LA. I'm from Compton, California.
Oh wow, what's it like there?
That's home. So you know what? Give me 1 second. I'm gonna close this window over here.
Sure. Yeah.
I definitely pressed the wrong button. I meant to press mute, and then I pressed whatever.
What's it like in Compton? What was your upbringing like?
My upbringing in Compton was, in retrospect, of course, straight out of Compton, definitely full of gangs and, a lot of gang banging and drug deals and all the things that you hear about it. But I definitely grew up in like a nice neighborhood style. Like even though there were drive-bys happening and all the bad stuff that you can probably think of, but we were very protected in my neighborhood. So the neighbors around us, they knew like if something happened, say we were all at a park or something like that, and people start shooting, they knew to pick my brother and I up and run us across the street to our house. Like, so it's, in retrospect, it wasn't like a great environment, but it was home and it's what I'm used to, or what I was used to back then. So, so yeah, I guess it was bad, but I didn't have a bad experience. I had everything I wanted. My parents took great care of us. They, made sure we were safe. And then eventually we did move out of Compton. I still have my mom moved back to Compton, and there are very nice parts of Compton, the street that we grew up on, very nice, beautiful landscaping, but it's very protected. So we're all right.
Yeah, I love that. Wow, that's so cool. Well, my first question to you that I emailed you was, tell us a little bit about yourself. Can you share a little bit about, I don't know, more of your childhood or moving to New York City and what that was like for you, or what your favorite foods are. I don't know.
um, if you guys don't know, my name is Jazmine Carthon. I am from Compton, California, and I'm a plus size model or curve model, whichever word you decide to fit. And I've been modeling probably about 5 years. Yeah, actually, it's about 5 years now. And I've been living in New York for 3 of those years. I've been signed to my agency, IPM Models, for about 4 years, I believe. So it was how I, got started in the industry. It was just something that fell into my lap. I wasn't always plus size. I was a size, probably I've been as small as a size 6, and I've been as big as a size 16. So my journey has been more about like loving myself throughout the sizes, because as a woman, our bodies fluctuate. Sometimes we're bigger, sometimes we're smaller. That can change depending on the time of the month, or put on a quarantine 15 like I did. Like,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that. In my whole experience with the fashion industry and modeling reflects that, because I wasn't the size that I am now, but it was just a matter of like learning to accept things as they come. And then honestly, things didn't blow up for me until I blew up, until I grew into like my womanly body and things like that. And I'm kind of rambling now, but
No.
um, the gist of it is, I was taught at a very early age that anything that I am is perfectly fine. So I didn't have to have like certain taboos about or feel bad about my skin color. I didn't have to feel bad about my size, because I grew up around a bunch of women who were curvy like me, who love themselves. Oh Lord, if you speak to my mother. No, like you want to talk about how Kanye loves Kanye? Like my mother is another level. So, and that's just how the women in my family roll. We didn't have any choice but to like, what do you mean you tripping on a little weight, on a little belly, girl? That's not a big deal. So, I think we were talking about and how I got into the industry. Maybe was I did the very first big thing that I did was Good American with Khloe Kardashian. So I shot their very first campaign. So that was like an awesome experience. This is when I had quit modeling at one point when I was smaller, because I was just tired of like taking crazy diet pills and going on all these like crash diets to try to shrink myself to fit into this tiny little box that my body didn't want to be in. And once I just kind of gave up on that, that was when modeling fell back into my lap. It was crazy. It had been like years. And then I decided to apply for that, and I was selected out of like a lot of people, and shot the very first campaign. From there, I got signed. The next year, I had moved to New York City. I was in New York for about a month before my agent sent me to the Project Runway casting. And then I was casted for Project Runway, ended up winning the model portion of that.
Yeah, I
And
love it. Yeah.
yeah, and then from there, also Sports Illustrated with Veronica, which is how you found me. We were both top 16 for Sports Illustrated in 2018. So yeah, done a lot.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm Veronica Bourmet's biggest fan. So like, I took a couple of hours off work just to attend that. I don't even want to become a model. I just admire Veronica as a Pacific woman. Yeah, yeah. I'm not interested in modeling at all, but I was like, I love this. I love that I can see a woman that looks like me on the other side of the world, just killing it, like just living her best life. So that's why I'm now I'm a huge fan of yours. So I'm really glad that I got to connect with you as a result of that. But I'm interested to know, what kind of foods did you eat growing up? Like, as Pacific people, we eat a lot of like island food, but I'm interested to know what I've never actually been to America before, nor have I immersed myself in African American culture. So I would love to know that.
Well, food. I mean, because I grew up in LA.
Yeah.
Like I grew up, of course, eating soul food and like all the things that you hear on like TV or whatever. But because I grew up in LA, I grew up on Mexican food. So carne asada, burritos, tacos. Like I'm here in New York, it's not, the Mexican food is not good, but in LA, that's where you go and you get like the best stuff, enchiladas, like all of the good stuff. And then as far as soul food, you know, we have your collard greens. I make really good collard greens, mac and cheese, baked mac and cheese though. It's different than the craft stuff. It's not the same. Sweet potato pie, you know, fried chicken, things like that. I'm pescatarian now, so I don't eat all of that stuff, even though every once in a while I like flexitarian it. If I'm going to my mom's house, I'm eating whatever my mom cooks. So like,
that's true.
So yeah, collard greens, mac and cheese, barbecue. Like, you know, you have your ribs, your chicken, your hot links. That's what I grew up on. A lot of barbecue, a lot of soul food, spaghetti.
I totally relate to, you know, whatever my mom cooks, I eat. Because I try to go vegetarian and plant-based, but as a Pacific Islander, they don't believe in that stuff. So whatever my mom cooks, I have to eat. It's also because sometimes I can't be bothered cooking my own food. So I totally relate to that. Talk to us about some of the life experiences you've had that's led you to become such a positive and vibrant person.
To be honest, I always say that that confidence, and especially when you're like, one of my passions is dealing with kids and building up their confidence at an early age, because that's what I had at home. My parents made sure to like uplift me, uplift my skin. I was like, when I was growing up, I was the only Black princess that I knew. My parents to this day still call me princess. They still call me like, they always celebrated my skin. They always celebrated my hair. So I didn't, like I said, I didn't grow up feeling bad about myself, because at home, I had two very, very confident, what happened to my light, sorry, I had to fix it. Because at home, I had two very, very confident parents who instilled that confidence in me. Of course, when I went out, you know, you get kids are cruel. They talk their mess. They call you names, all this other stuff. I have 6 siblings. They called me names. I called them names back. But because my foundation was so solid, I didn't feel the need to take what other people said that were like outside. I didn't take their stuff serious, because how I felt about me was way more important than what anybody else had to think about me.
I love that. Yes.
That's it. What other people think about me is none of my business.
Absolutely. So true. So what was it like explaining to your parents about your modeling career and kind of just saying, I'm going to be a plus size model. You celebrate me at home. Now I'm going to celebrate me and other women like me to the world. What was that conversation like for you?
They were extremely supportive. Like I remember like my parents saying that they thought I would have, like, because they knew when I was trying to model when I was smaller. And of course, like, I come from a blended family. So some people in my family were going on these crazy diets, and they saw I was going on these diets right along with them. And then I started to gain weight. And, you know, you hear little like chatter in your family, like, oh, you're getting a little big, or oh, you're doing a little this. And then I took that and, like, you know, I'm gonna model what I have. Like, they're telling me that I don't have to change who I am, and they were all for it. They were 100%, you know, Jazzy, follow your dreams kind of people. So they, you know, if you want to come back home, you can always come back home. Especially once they saw me like really making money doing this. When they saw that it wasn't just like a hobby. Because at first, like, you know, I'm spending money on these flights, flying back and forth to New York. And at the time I was working, I had a government job. I was working for behavior detection with TSA. So, you know, I had a very serious government job with great benefits and like potential to promote and to make some like decent money. But it was not, my heart wasn't in it at all. Like what I wanted to do and what I wanted to put in the world is bigger than what I can ever do at TSA for me. And that's not knocking people who do work for TSA, because you can do your hard work there too. But for me and what I want to do, I knew it was something that was bigger than me. So I dropped everything. I got rid of my apartment. I got rid of my car and moved damn near 3,000 miles across the country to pursue a dream, to chase a dream, and really caught up to it. So
Yeah.
that's been a blessing.
That is so courageous. I mean, that must have taken a lot of bravery and a huge step of faith. And I'm interested to know your thoughts, because when I was looking through your social media, I look at it as a plus size model, beautiful Black woman. I'm interested to know, I mean, do you associate any, because when I look through social media, there's so many women out there who are modeling, but there's this like almost like a toxic influencer culture where it's almost just really fake. And then the reason why I reached out to you, because I had a stalk of you on Instagram, and I was like, oh, I like her, I want to invite her onto the podcast. It's very genuine, and I like that you put your career forward. Have you ever been caught an influencer? Does anyone ever look at you like one?
Yeah, so one thing that I always pray in general is that especially when it comes to my page, I want things to be so authentic when you come to my page. I want everyone's experience with me. I want you to be able to leave feeling better. I don't want you to leave a conversation with me feeling confused. And I say this about men too. Like, I know we're not talking about dating, or if you want
we can talk about dating.
Okay. So when it comes to dating, my like policy has been, how do I feel when I leave this person? Do I leave confused? Do I leave wondering what they think about me, or am I sure? Or do I feel better about myself? So I try to reflect that in my posts. Like, I want you to understand that, like, yeah, like, sure, I'll glam it up and I'll have a good time or whatever, but I have my bad days. I want you to see me like thug it out through my bad days too.
Yeah.
I may be tired of quarantine, but I look like a bad bitch. Like, like it's like little things. I want excuse me, I want people to understand that they can push through whatever it is that they're going through, and that I hope to God that they feel better about themselves or wanting to do something great in their lives after like looking at my page. So
yeah, I get that vibe all the time when I see women, because I'm quite a big girl myself, and when I see women like you and Veronica, especially if you're women of color, like I get that, like, it's okay, because my family still have that really old school mindset, like if you're fat, you're unhealthy. That's the mindset that my family has. But I'm not unhealthy. Like, I'm plant-based, for goodness sakes. It's just the way my body is. So I appreciate everything that you and Veronica do and put out there for women like me to look at, because I'm heading into my 30s soon. And I look back on my 20s and I'm like, I did not love myself throughout my 20s. And when I see content like yours and Veronica's, and I look at I'm ready to head into a new chapter of my life where I can love my whole self, my whole body. And I stalked you. I looked at all the work you do, and I can't wait to talk to you more about that soon. But I just wanted to say that really quickly. Talk to us about some of the breakthroughs you've had while learning to love yourself at any size, because you've talked about you being bigger here and being a little bit more chubbier here, and then losing weight here. Talk to us about some of those breakthroughs.
Funny story when it came down to when I was trying to lose a whole bunch of weight, when I was trying this modeling thing, and I was, I don't remember exactly when, but I was probably a size 8'10" at the time, and I was trying to get down to size 4'6". Yeah, so
that's pretty small. That's pretty small.
Yeah, it's really small. I'm a size 14 now.
Yeah.
So I was taking a bunch of diet pills, and this isn't because I felt like, my size was unattractive. It was because I was trying to do whatever I could to get myself in this fashion industry. Right. So working out twice a day, taking crazy diet pills that had my chest like beating out of my heart beating out of my chest. I was taking your pre-workouts, which, I mean, these things alone aren't bad, but when you put them all together and you're doing it in an unhealthy way, that's when, you have to like look at yourself. I remember laying on my floor with my heart beating so fast that I couldn't like function, because I took a pre-workout and I took like this diet pill, and I was like, this isn't it. This doesn't feel healthy. And I was on soup diets, like those crazy things that aren't natural. If you want to lose your weight, if you want to do whatever it is for your body, by all means do it, but do it in a way that is healthy and make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. So I was doing it to try and fit myself into this fashion industry that didn't want me at that size. And then I remember working for TSA. This is one of the moments that, like, you know, not a lot of people know about, but when I was working for TSA, I remember being at the airport and I am talking to one of my coworkers, and he knows that, you know, I want to model and that I'm like trying little stuff. And Miss J from America's Next Top Model walks through, and I'm nervous. And I'm not like I live in Los Angeles at the time. Like, I like seeing celebrities isn't like a big deal for us. And I'm working at the airport, so I see everyone. But Miss J walks up and I am so nervous. And he was like, Jazz, go talk to Miss J. And I was like, no, I don't want to. He literally pushed me into Miss J and made me talk to them. So I'm talking and I'm like, hey, just letting you know, like, I really want to model, but I'm trying to lose all this weight, but I'm going to get there. You're going to see me on these runways. And Miss J looked at me, and I'm not sure what pronouns Miss J decides to go by, but so Miss J looked at me and was like, you know, how you are, there are girls out there who fit the clothes that you fit and who look the way that you look, and we need girls like you to represent that. He was like, you bet not lose a pound. He literally told me, you bet not lose a pound. And then he proceeds to point at this skinny white lady who was getting a pat down, you know, working at TSA. Very, very skinny lady. And he said to me, excuse the cursing, but he was like, you see that bitch? He was like, look at that bitch. He was like, you want to look like her? No, she looks gross. Not saying that skinny women look gross at all. I don't believe that. I don't believe in tearing. 100%. But his point was, this is unnatural for you. We need you to look the way that you look. And since then, it changed my whole perspective on the industry. And after that, not after that specific incident, but it was a few different things that made me, like, you know, chill on trying to like squeeze my body into a size 4. Like, what was I thinking? I would look crazy at that size. So that was one thing that made me like just be better at accepting that this is what my body wants to do. So I'm proud of it. These curves, like, I feel like I earned my curves because these curves are the curves of a woman who's been through some you know what I mean? So I appreciate each little bump, dimple, curve, everything that I have. I really do.
Oh my God, I love that story. And shout out to your friend for pushing you. Yeah.
But he probably doesn't even know how great that was for me. I haven't spoken to him in a long time, but yeah.
So cool. Like, and sometimes you just have to push yourselves. Like, I was freaking out just being in that Zoom call, and like on Saturday, it was our Saturday, and like even just looking at like my just looking at Veronica, I'm like, oh my God, she's like right there. I know it's through the computer, but it's amazing. Like, I was freaking out, and I do podcasts all the time, but I've never been so nervous to ask the question. I didn't want to ask the question because I care about auditioning for modeling. I asked the question just because I had to push myself to be used to being around people who are doing amazing things. And that's cool. I love that. What are your experiences with, what advice would you give to women out there who are struggling to embrace those curves? Because when I listen to you talk about your curves and how you've earned it, how you embrace it, how you use it as a strength, I know that there are women in my life that don't feel that way, that look at themselves every morning before they go in the shower and just hate themselves and think they're fat and gross. How would you encourage those women?
I literally would say, and then I know it sounds weird, but honestly, fake it till you make it. Like, if you look in the mirror, if I look in the mirror and I'm seeing something, first of all, when I look in the mirror, I compliment myself in my head. I tell myself good things about every part of me. I don't care if it's something bad. How I think, I always say that I can find the good in every situation, everything. Yeah. Like, so when it comes to my body, I look at myself and I compliment everything. And if it's something that I don't believe, I'm gonna say it until I believe it. Yeah. And I think
Eat it. Take your time, we'll eat it. It's a good, I need a water as well, so it's good. Water break.
Water break, great.
Cool.
No Corona. Just had a tickle in my throat. I think you froze a bit. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So what I was saying, I believe in faking it until you make it. The reason why we have these mantras and why we meditate certain things and why they tell you to like have positive like images around you is because you have to train your brain to believe it. You know what I mean? Right. Like, so your brain might be telling you like, oh, you're ugly, oh, you're fat, or oh, you're all these negative like words, but when it comes down to it, you control that. You have to be able to control your thoughts. And a lot of times those thoughts, think about where they're coming from. They're coming from outside. They're coming from society. They're probably not coming from you because you want to believe that you're beautiful. You want to feel good about yourself. I don't think I know anybody who genuinely wants to hate themselves. So try your hardest. And I'm not a therapist. I'm not saying it's like a foolproof thing, but all I can do is speak for myself. And I think because I've heard so many positive things about myself, not just from other people, but from me, I have to believe it. And then I also like, I think I'm always pray that I am the influencer, not the influenced. So what's outside can't tell me about me. I have to, and also, I don't know what your religious beliefs are, but I have to believe in what God wants for me. You know what I mean? When I pray, and I burn my Palo Santo and like cleanse the energy in my room, in my house, I literally go over every mirror and I pray over the image of myself. I pray that I see myself the way God sees me. And I pray that I see people the way God sees them. So in that you have no choice but to see the good in things because God is love and God is good.
Yeah, amen.
That's my way. Because literally, and also, and I like recently, what's been in my head is that, you know, we are made in the image of God. So when I'm looking for God, I look in the mirror. I look like this is what he made me to look like. He wants me to look like this. So, I mean, of course, if you want to alter something, change something, and that's what you want to do, then that's fine. And that's part of your journey. But God loves you the way that you are. And how can I love something that God loves? You know, and how could I not love something that God made? Yeah. So that's how I get through it. Because we all have our bad days, but that's how I like push through.
I had a bad day yesterday, and I'm just like, for me, my breakthrough from that was I can't let my emotions lead me because emotions come and go. I have to remember who I am and what I'm on, what God has put me on earth to do. So I have to push through. So I love you. I love that. Thank you for sharing. What are your experiences with colorism in the modeling industry? Because you spoke a little bit about that. I didn't catch on to it because it froze a little bit on Saturday. But you spoke a little bit about it on the Zoom podcast, but I was just interested to know what your experiences with colorism is.
So, as a dark-skinned Black model, as a dark-skinned plus-size Black model, when it comes to colorism, a lot of times, you know, you're on set and you see, you know, you may have like 4 white girls. They'll take a blonde, they'll take a brunette, they'll take a redhead, and they'll take one plus-size white girl, and then there'll be me representing for all Black people. You know what I mean? For all brown people. You might throw like, the problem with this industry is there's a lot of tokenism. You know, you come in and you do a campaign, they feel like there can only be one Black person, one ethnic person, and a lot of times when there are a lot more light-skinned mixed race looking models that get booked, you know, as opposed to me. I'm very much Black. Like you look at me, I'm not ethnically ambiguous, I'm Black. And it's a beautiful thing, but the industry, I want to say, is changing to where it's being more acceptable, but the likelihood of me being on set with another Black model is it's never happened to me. So I've been on a lot of sets. I've done a lot in my career, and I see Black models at events, especially dark skinned models. I've never been on set with another dark skinned model. That's the problem that I have with the industry, is that they only, and they try to make it so, and I'm like, I don't want to say it's intentional, but that's a whole lot of unpacking for this conversation. But literally, you see another Black girl on a casting, and unfortunately, if you have a weaker mindset, you think of her as your competition automatically. They're not going to pick both of us. Yeah. So in my mind, I always say that what's for me is for me, and what isn't. I don't compete with anyone or anything. It's just me. Yeah. And so that's within the industry. That's what I've experienced with colorism. And just being in America, you hear music that, for example, Lil Wayne's one of my favorite artists, but he puts out there songs where he says, I like a long hair, thick red bone. Like, in order to be beautiful, you have to have certain attributes. And a lot of times, dark skin isn't one of them. A lot of times, even in every cultures, I know with Pacific Islanders, even though you guys can be my color and darker, what they put in the forefront are those with lighter skin tones. Same thing with Indian people, Asian people, Black people, all around the world. What's more acceptable, what is more beautiful for them is lighter skin, anything closer to white. So I like to make sure that my impact shows my support is with little Black girls who grew up like me, opening up magazines, turning on the television, and not seeing themselves. I literally had to imagine myself into the space that I'm in, because I have never, growing up, I have absolutely never seen a curvy Black woman with curly hair. If you saw a Black woman, she was, skinny and straight hair. That's, how you, and most likely light skin. Yeah. So you didn't see anyone like me. So I'm here for the girls who, don't see anyone like them. And now I can be that representation. Yeah. I can be the Princess Tiana of the fashion industry, or all these things that we just didn't grow up seeing. Like finally there are princesses. Finally there are models, and there are positive representations of ethnic people in mainstream media, but it's still scarce, and we still have a long way to go. So just trying to
yeah, I love that you've brought this situation to the light, because from here, from little old New Zealand on the other side of the world, and as consumers of American culture, we look at it, at these campaigns and these things in the fashion industry, and we look at it like, oh, they're being quite diverse, oh, things are changing. But I love that you've brought it to the light, because now we are aware, and anyone who follows me on my podcast and my talk show, we're aware that there is still a lot of change that needs to be done, and we can be part of that change and be part of that conversation and pushing that change. So I love that. Is that just around color, or is it around body size as well, or is it all under the same view?
No, it's also around body size. Yeah. I know that and this is one of the issues with even the plus fashion industry. Yeah. I know that my size, at a size 14, is a lot more quote unquote marketable. But I think that there should be a lot more representation. and I hope I don't like get in trouble for saying this, but I have clients or have had clients who would put padding on me so that way I can fill out. And I feel like if you want a size 18 model, just book a size 18 model instead of getting my size 14 and try and make me bigger or smaller, because there are women out there, models out there, not even just women, because plus male modeling is gaining traction too, thank God, because I have big guys in my family who shop. It's like $1 billion industry that they're just not tapping into. They shop too. They need to look nice too. So I think it's important that our fashion, that our ad campaigns represent the world that we live in. And that, I don't think it does. So like, even though, over 67% of women are over a size 14, you look at the fashion industry, we have a very small, like you'll have all of this straight size and then like just this much of plus. And that plus is only 12, 14, 16, 18. What about the 20, 22, 24? Like we need that representation all across the board. And we need to show love to everyone all across the board. So we're not hating on the skinny chicks.
No.
We're not hating on the bigger chicks. There's room for all of us. We all can have a seat at the table.
Absolutely. I love that. What have you ever been criticized, just because you're talking about all of this, and I'm interested to know if you've ever been criticized about your body or your hair or your skin color on set? You've spoken all about your body, but have you been criticized for your hair on set or anything? Have you been criticized for anything about your physical appearance?
No, not necessarily, because since I've been on the industry, like you have your look. So when they book me, they know what's coming. So they know I'm showing up as a size 14, and so as long as I fit like size 14 is usually like sample size and plus size, 14, 16, sometimes 18. So so I've been blessed to be able to like fit the samples pretty well, so I don't have that issue. As far as straightening my hair, I don't. If they want my hair straight, I have a straight wig for that. so because I don't want to burn out my hair. So I have different options. If you want clip-ins, I have that. If you want natural, we can do that. So I like, because as a Black model, we have to be prepared in another way. We have to, like, I can't just roll out of bed, grab my little backpack and come to set. I have to have multiple hair options. I have to have my own makeup, because half the time the makeup artist does not know how to match my color. It's just so many things that we have to carry with us in order to be prepared and in order to look our best on set. And it's not the same, because the people who don't look the way that I do, they can just show up and they'll be fine. They don't have to worry about whether or not their face is going to match their neck. They don't have to worry about, the hairstylist on set literally burning their hair out. These are things that, go through my mind. When I go to photo shoots, I pretty much come with my hair already done. Most of the times they just, fluff me up a little bit. No, it's too much. They mostly just, fluff you up a little bit, maybe define a few curls, and that's it. But I purposely show up done, because I take really great care of my hair and I want to keep my hair. That's just how I keep it that way.
Yeah. You mentioned before you roll out of bed. What does that mean? When you roll out of bed, what's that?
No, roll out of bed.
Oh, roll out of bed.
Get out of bed, yeah.
You know what I had in my head? I was like, so you get on set, you've got a bed that you, because this, I imagine it's long hours. You've got a bed you can rest on during set. No, that's not.
No. No, I'm talking about because like, especially in New York, sometimes your shoots are like in Philly or Jersey or whatever. So sometimes I have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and take the train. I have one client, it's a 3-hour commute there and back. And I'll be on a train and on a bus. No, on a train and an Amtrak train, and they send a car for me, taking me all the way to the part of Philly that I shoot in. and then I shoot for 8 hours, and then it's another 3-hour commute back to, I live in Brooklyn. So it's long hours. It's not, people think it's easy. It's not that easy. But when it's something that you love to do, like this is something that I love to do, it's worth the sacrifice. It's, you know, it's worth the long hours. And when you do what you love, it never feels like work. So yeah, so even though I'm tired, sometimes I'm shooting the back of an outfit and I'm closing my eyes for a little bit because I need the rest. But you do what you have to do.
And also I can, as a content creator myself for doing podcasts, it's so hard to always try and keep our social media followers engaged. And so having to come up with content can be a bit of a struggle. How do you go about planning your content? Do you lie in bed thinking, oh, today I'm going to post this and then tomorrow I'm going to post that? Or how do you plan your photo shoots that you do on your own?
Well, the photo shoots, that's something new for me because of quarantine. So normally, of course, I'm on set, like I have, you know, booked photo shoots or booked test shoots. But this is just something that I'm able to do to keep my creative juices flowing than to keep me from going crazy. Because what I love to do, my art as a model is my body. So what I like to do is to express myself, and I have like a dance background as well. So how I express myself is through movement, through photographs, and this is how like I show my like emotions and things like that. So when I decided to put my own sets together, this is just me getting it out. This is like, because I don't want to just bottle up my creativity and save it for later. No, it needs to get out. So I pretty much, I post what I feel.
Yeah.
I post like so for example, I don't know if you guys know out there, I'm sure you're familiar with all the police brutality and things like that we have going on here in the States. Last week we all found out about Ahmaud, who was shot and killed by 3 white men, 3 white supremacists. And I remember I had stuff scheduled to post, or like, because I do have it set up so it looks a certain way on my page, so it's cute. But and I was going to do a post that day, but I just couldn't, and I was gonna put like a witty caption, like, or something like that, but my spirit wouldn't allow me to post something that was so lighthearted at that time, because my heart didn't feel light at that moment. It felt heavy. And I felt, fix this light, sorry. Yeah. The sun is going down, so like my light changed. Yeah. But it felt heavy. And I remember I had a friend of mine from high school who she's not Black, she's white. And she responded to one of the posts on my story that I posted about Ahmaud. And she was, you know, basically saying about being an ally, or basically like saying like, what can I do to help as a white woman? What is it that I can do to help? And I was like, you know, you can show your support. Like, I appreciate the kind words and you like messaging me privately about how it bothers you that someone was just running and got shot and killed. But what we need is allies outside of the culture to publicly state that they're allies. We need people on a national sense, and people who can support cultures that aren't theirs, and say that publicly. You privately messaging me doesn't do anything to help us get the word out there that, you know, that these terrible things are happening. And I was just really bothered by that. And when I told her that, she was like, well, and I know we're going a bit off topic, but her thing was, she was like, well, I don't want to be called a white knight. And I was like, your reason, I was so irritated, because I was like, your reason for not supporting us publicly is something as small as words, when I've been called an angry Black woman my entire life, amongst other terrible, terrible things. And I'm able to still keep going. All we need for you is to support us, just and fight for us, the same way you fight about not being able to get a haircut because we're in quarantine. Yeah. Like, you know, the same way you fight for for women's rights. I need you to fight for Black rights because these are human rights too. So, so with that being said, I didn't feel that day to post like a witty caption. Instead, I posted, you know, about supporting us and being an ally publicly and not privately, because that's what was on my heart at that time. And then, but then sometimes on my heart, I want to, you know, talk about F-boys or, so it just depends on how I feel. And I think that helps, you know, when people come to my page, they feel like I'm not being someone that I'm not. I'm trying, not trying, I'm just being myself. I'm being authentic. And if somebody doesn't like it, they can easily click the unfollow button.
Yeah, it's true.
I have no problem with that, because I'm not here for the followers. I'm not doing it for, I post what I want because it's what I want to post, and it's my page. So yeah, if you don't like it,
goodbye. Exactly.
I love that love out here for everyone, you know?
Yeah. I love that you've mentioned that, and it's true. When I go through your page, I see a genuine person. I don't see anyone trying to sell a brand or trying to be this person. You're really just keeping it real, and I appreciate that. Did I ask you what advice you would...
Wait, don't get me wrong, because if a brand is gonna hit me up, the check is right.
Yeah.
I'm definitely always gonna do it in my way, on my, like, with my standards. So I'm not gonna sell like flat tummy tea. Oh my gosh, they've hit me up so many times.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna sell something that I don't believe in. I'm not gonna tell these women like, oh, like go and get this flat tummy tea so you can get skinny, and preach body positivity at the same time.
Yeah.
That's not it, and that's not my thing. So.
Absolutely. But that's what I mean. Like you just come across such a genuine person on your social media, and even from the other side of the world, we can all relate to that. So I love that. Did anyone, did I ask you what advice you would give to women out there who are wanting to begin a modeling career?
No, I didn't ask you how you feel about yourself, but we didn't talk about it.
Yeah, so what advice would you give to women out there who are wanting to begin a modeling career in the plus size sector?
Advice I would give, take digitals. Like, you know, a lot of times we want to take all these glamorous photos and take those to the agencies and try to get booked that way. Agencies don't want to see all that. They want to see digital. Stand in front of a white wall with little to no makeup, or if you do put on makeup, make sure they can't tell that it's makeup. Little to no makeup. You take your headshot, you take a 3/4, you take a full body shot, or follow whatever the directions that it says on the agency website, and you send it to them. And they usually tell you within a couple weeks whether or not they want you. And if you get a bunch of no's, that's fine too. This is why social media is so important, because we literally have the whole world in the palm of our hands. Yeah. So if the agencies are inviting, then make yourself interesting on social media. You can contact brands directly, or however it is that it works. I don't have very much expertise in that, because that wasn't my journey, but I've seen girls who are not signed who are making some really good money and are still represented by brands and still like modeling without ever having an agency contract. So that's my advice when it comes to like being signed or not being signed. And also, I believe, I always say there's no such thing as a no when it comes to me. It's no matter where I've been in my career, even if there was a no at the moment, it's not right now, or God has something better for me. It's never a no, ever, ever, ever. Like, for example, Chromat. I don't know if you saw, but I walked in New York Fashion Week for Chromat a couple times now. And with Chromat, I had gone to their casting probably like 4 times. Like, they have put me on hold. They've told me no. They put me on hold. I've been dropped the day of the show. Like, it's like so many things have happened, and it's always, you know, a not right now. Or I've been crushed at castings that have booked me later on. Like, so even though some of these agencies may say no to you in the moment, you can find your way into this industry. And there's also so many different layers of this industry and so many different types of models that you can be runway, you can be editorial, you can be commercial, you can be a hand model, you can be parts models, you can be a fit model. Fit modeling is a huge avenue to go into that makes great money. And don't be ashamed of having a day job as you navigate through this industry. A lot of us want to just like get money quick. I worked for TSA for a very long time while I was modeling, and even after I quit TSA, I worked as a bartender here and there. You know, just I've never been ashamed of doing what I had to do to pay my bills and to do what I needed to do for me. So yeah, and save your money. If you plan on moving to New York, New York's an expensive city. Save your money.
Yeah.
So and pay your taxes. Uncle Sam is I have some bad words for Uncle Sam, but pay your taxes.
I love that. I watched Naomi Campbell and Tyra's talk show years ago. They were talking. I don't know if you've seen it. There's a clip on YouTube. Yeah, and
I've been on the Tyra show before.
Where?
Like in the audience. In the audience, my mom used to go to all of the shows. So I've been to the Tyra show a couple times. We've been to Dr. Phil, Price is Right. My mom goes to Ellen's show. This is what happens when you live in LA. You can it's all right there.
I love it. Yeah. Like my favorites. I love talk shows. And I watched Tyra and Naomi Campbell's. It's like almost like a confrontation. They had a real heart to heart. Talked about a lot of the beef that they had back in the day, and they were talking about how one of them was cancelled the day of the show, and you've mentioned it now, and I'm thinking that sounds a bit unprofessional coming from my end. Does that happen often?
I think so when it comes to Fashion Week, everything is moving so fast. You'll literally be, standing there about to walk out onto the runway, and they're still, sewing things on you. In my case, I think it may have been a situation like my look was dropped. So if there's no look, there's no model needed. So you know what I mean? So it's little things that that it just happens. So it's not a surprise because Fashion Week is the most fast-paced week of my life twice a year. So like it's literally the most stressful week. It's literally like a 3-week process because you have castings like for a couple weeks, and then you have the actual Fashion Week and all the events. I don't sleep. I barely eat because everything is just moving too crazy, but I feel like it's Christmas. That's what I think of like Fashion Week is. It's my Christmas. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. But so you still get paid for your time though, right? For the hours that you spend?
Your rate and all that, like all that is like discussed with your agent. So you still like, depending on the model, depending on the client, will determine your rate, your pay. It just depends. So yeah, it's really a case by case basis and a model by model basis.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, that's interesting because I have no knowledge. I'm very ignorant when it comes to the modeling world, but I love them. I love looking at them. But I just think that they represent women like us. Ashley Graham is one of them. I love you, Veronica Pomei. And I remember I like everyone's photos, and I was looking through Ashley Graham's comments, and just the amount of bullying and the amount of negativity people put out there. But there was also a comment that stood out and interested me. It was around the negative connotations around the word plus size. Like some of the plus size women just want to be known as models. They don't want to be known as plus size models. Just call me a model. Do you think there are negative connotations to the word plus size?
I think words are only going to have as much power as you give them.
Right.
So if somebody decides to call me plus size and I have a negative feeling associated with the word plus or plus size, then I'm gonna feel like it's a bad word. But if I feel like plus size is just a descriptive word, it's literally an adjective.
Yeah.
I don't like it, so it doesn't bother me. You can put whatever adjective you want in front of the word model. When it comes down to it, I'm a model. You can just call me a model if you want. It like whether or not you put plus or curve, or you can put fat model. I don't care. You can put whatever name you want in front of that. It does not faze me because what matters most is how I feel about me.
Amen.
And I feel like plus, fat, curve, big, chunky. All of these words are just descriptive word. Yes, I have fat. It looks good. Yes, I'm plus size. It looks great. Yes, I'm chunky. I'm sure I like it. The man like it. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not
Yeah.
like it really depends on how you decide to call it. If Ashley Graham, I don't have a problem with Ashley Graham wanting to drop the plus because I understand where she's coming from, where, you know, we're models when it comes down to it. The type of model that we are, like, that's just something that's thrown on top. If this client wants to just call me a model and put me with all of the rest of their models, whether they're plus size or straight size, I'm fine with that. If this brand wants to separate it, that's cool too. It's fine, as long as the options are there for all women. I don't care what name you put in front of it. It's just a name.
I love
It's
that.
just
Yeah, it's a really positive way to look at it, and I appreciate that. Thank you. What are your top 3 affirmations for yourself?
my top 3. I had these in my head earlier. My affirmations are I have a notification that pops up on my phone every day that at 11 a.m. that says, only what you do for Christ will last. So because I feel like the things that I'm doing is way bigger than me. I'm here to do God's work when it comes down to it. So I check myself. I check my reason for what I'm doing and make sure it's aligned with what I was told I'm supposed to be doing. So there's that, and things will always be okay because literally things always work out. When you think about yourself back in high school and you were worried about the tiniest thing, like whether or not like somebody texts you back or, you know, like the smallest stuff, you don't even worry about that stuff anymore. The things that you were so stressed out about last year probably don't even pop in your head anymore because you got through it and things worked out, because things always work out exactly the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And then the third one, this is, you know, we're talking about our higher selves and things like that. And now my thing recently is, you know, making decisions based on not what I would do right here in this space, but when I think of my higher self, what decisions